All right. Let me lay something on you. How do you break through this kind of like attention barrier to get attention, but to do so in a way that is still purposeful and that is still aligned to what you're trying to communicate? And so this could be, hey, you're writing an application for college or a job interview, or you're pitching a new client in business. Like, how do you not just fall back on, this is who I am, this is what I always do, but you've got a big opportunity and you got to do something different, you feel like, to really break through? Like, how do you approach those moments?
It's the Seth Godin purple cow theory, where you driving and down the road and you're passing all these cows on your way to Nebraska, and they all look the same, and all of a sudden there's one that's purple and it sticks out.
Yeah.
So it gets your attention. So in everything you do, you have to think about how you stand out. So if you're sending in applications like everyone else, how are you going to stand out? The example I gave on the podcast a couple weeks ago with my daughter, she was sending in her resume, and she put on there that she had built this website and this business, and she did it all in high school. So that made her stand out. Now you can say, like, well, did she do anything on the resume? And I can't speak to that. I actually didn't see it, like to make it pop off the page in a different way, or maybe it's like
Delivered in a different way or something.
Delivered in a different way, or maybe it was just highlighted, like click this QR code and you have this personalized experience. Like, there's a million things you could do. What I wouldn't do is just send in a resume with a bunch of stuff on it, because people aren't necessarily going to read it. And then on top of that, like if I'm a HR person ingesting a bunch of resumes, I'm using AI to go through them and saying, like, is there anything about these people that make me stick out?
Yeah.
Or that would make any candidate stick out here? And if the answer is no, then you might not even get seen.
Yeah. That's a whole different thing. I think that, I don't know, we can talk about it for a second, but like the way that AI becomes the gate on that, like how do you get AI's attention? Is it just scanning for the keywords that we need for this job versus, oh, these are all here, but Joe's resume also has something else that the AI, Claude is going, well, shit, we need Joe in here now.
And think about it. Like, if you think you're clever using AI to generate your resume, you don't think your competitors are. So they're all going to have the keywords. They're all going to have exactly what it should say. So it's going to be really hard from an HR standpoint, a recruiting standpoint, to find the right candidate, because everyone's going to look the same.
Maybe it's handwriting your resume and submitting it.
Whatever it is, it's doing something different. And then, one thing I'm talking to our team, like as we approach retailers, there's a few things that I look at is, like, one, you have to think about what's in it for them. Okay, that's good. But if you don't break through and you don't get the opportunity, then sometimes that's not even enough. Or how do you communicate that message to get through to the other side so they actually see what's in it for them?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's so much noise and competition, they might overlook you even though you're the better choice.
Yeah.
So then you have to dig deep to get into the kind of psyche of whatever you're trying to do to say, like, how will I differentiate myself? And there's things that you could do that sometimes you got to take a chance. Sometimes you got to take a risk. And there's other things that are like playing it a little safe, but it's still a differentiation point.
It's actually, I feel like a kind of an analog framing of breaking out of your comfort zone in a way to discover new things about yourself, but to open yourself up to new opportunities and new relationships. Of stand in front of the room, I'm going to pitch myself the way I've always done it, versus what am I not communicating about myself? How do I think differently about myself to get through on that? I mean, you've pitched a ton of business. Are there ways in which you kind of know this is the moment we need to do something different and not risk looking like a fool as you do it?
There is risk that you will look like a fool, and I'll give you a great example of when that happened to us. And I don't necessarily regret it, because I think in the end, there's a lesson there in itself, and we'll get to that in a second. We had this RFP. This is early days of our digital marketing agency. So we received RFPs often from various businesses, and this one sent an RFP in. When you're submitting an RFP response, you're kind of in the same position as you're submitting a resume.
Right.
You need to stand out. So I had this idea. Why don't we create this crazy image on the cover of this RFP to get their attention?
Okay.
And then they'll look at that and be like, what is this?
Right.
And I knew there was a 50-50 chance they were going to be like, this is super clever that these guys did this and created something that caught our attention, or they would be completely offended. And sometimes that's the best place to be in, because what you don't want to be in is the middle. So if I was in the middle, I wouldn't have got seen anyway.
Right.
So we took our shot, and we ended up creating this cat riding a unicorn with, I think the cat may have had a gun or like dressed like Rambo a little bit. And there was like fireworks going on in the background. And that was like our cover letter of the RFP.
And this is before AI. It wasn't like you wrote a prompt, give me a
No.
cat riding a unicorn. Like you had to go and like tell a designer, like draw.
Yeah, we put time and effort into this. But it was definitely one of those where like, okay, this is a risk. And then we submitted it over and we got a response back the next week. And the lady said she had like never been more offended, I think.
Oh my gosh.
But the lesson to that is like, do we want clients like that we can't have fun with?
Sure.
And yeah, it might have been like over the top. But the reality is like we took a shot and I found that the more at-bats you get, the more opportunities you do get to win, but you're gonna strike out like that. And I think the same goes for social media, and the same goes for this world we're living in, where you have 3 seconds. If people don't understand the algorithm today, you have 3 seconds to catch someone's attention. So if you're watching a short from this podcast and you skip past 3 seconds, the algorithm knows that, and if enough people do it, they're not going to show it to any more people.
Right.
So not only do you have to get attention, but you have to do it in 3 seconds. You have to be different. Otherwise, someone's not going to watch it.
There's comparisons to that of being in the room with people and like how quickly you're going to lose them. This is our About Us page. I mean, we've talked about that versus immediately starting with a story that's going to be captivating, but that then also has a payoff, which I think is kind of what I want to get to in terms of you want to deliver on, this is who I am, this is the solution I have for you, this is why you should hire me, accept me to your school, whatever it is, has to be delivered still after you've gotten that attention, and there has to be a connection, I feel like.
Totally. So like the content that we're working on right now is content that is very purposeful to create intrigue, to create a curiosity gap, to create an itch that the viewer wants to scratch. Like you're not knowing what's necessarily coming, but you're going to get a payoff in the end. And that is, to me, is really valuable. So we watched a video today that got a ton of our attention with Bandit running. And when you first get into the video, you have no idea what's going on. And you brought it to my attention, you're watching it, and at the end of it, you're still like, what is that? Like, what happened? And it was clearly, I don't want to give it away, but clearly, like the second time you watch it, you start to get it.
Yeah.
So not only do you watch it once, but it creates enough intrigue where you watch it a second time.
Yeah.
And that is like magical because it was on brand for them. The ending had a cool, kind of, I would say, cute payoff, but it's leading you in a direction like, where is this going? Like, you have no idea how you're going to connect how this thing starts with how it ends.
The other thing that I was thinking about, that as you're scrolling, once you do stop, especially if you are a marketer, an entrepreneur, whatever, to try to figure out, why did I stop? And or why did I go back? Because I think so often you scroll past something and then you're doing essentially the version of a double take on your thumb scroll of like, wait a minute, what was, now it just registered. And I think with that video in particular, it was something about the way it looked. It was really very different than anything else in my feed. But then also after I'd gone past, I was like, wait, that was Bandit. Why? That doesn't connect. And I had to go back to figure out, why did Bandit have this thing that didn't look anything like what I would have expected from them.
And interesting music too. You're like,
well, I don't even remember if the music was on when I first scrolled through, but then
it's recognizable too.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
you didn't hear the music.
Yeah, but when I went back, I
Yeah.
certainly turned the music on
Yeah.
to see, like, I wanted the full experience because I could tell that there was something else there. So it's these little ways that you're breaking through that bigger attention barrier that we talk about of like, oh, wait, what was that? Wait, I want to learn more about this. And you're pulled more and more in. And not only did I watch it all the way to the end, I shared it with you. We watched it again. I feel like I want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, it was great. But that shows you like that differentiation is key. And that could be, in some cases like that, like there was a lot of time and money invested in it. But there's new formats that emerge that either you have to hop on right away because they're different, or you have to like try to create them, which obviously trying to create them is tough. Like one I've seen recently, I don't know if you've seen this, it's a ton of text on the actual image itself. So it's kind of interesting where there'll be like a story, but it's not in the caption, it's on the image. And it's easy to read, but I've never seen them where they look great. Just imagine like half the 4:3 image, like the top half is the picture and the bottom half is a bunch of words on a black background and like white text. And it's like a story or something.
Yeah.
So that one gets your attention because you're like, what is this? And it's not that much effort. That's the other thing. If I see a video, let's just say it's 10 minutes long, in my mind, I'm like, this is a big investment that I'm going to have to make with my time. So it has to be super compelling or different or exactly what I'm looking for.
So as a framework, because I think you've been on both sides of this, where probably there's companies, agencies that have come in and say, hey, we got a creative idea, we want to pitch it to you. Whereas you've also been the one coming up with the idea, saying we need to do something totally out of the box. Is it a matter of just experience? Is it a matter of a quick evaluation of time and effort and resources for payoff? I guess, how do you break through this kind of like, that idea is just way too fucking whack, it's not going to work, versus that idea is just crazy enough that it might work? You know what I mean? Like, how does somebody else who might be listening to this approach that to go, I don't know if I trust myself enough to figure out how to do that. Should I just be as crazy as I can? What's the way you get to it?
I think you have to think about what your desired outcome is, who you're talking to, who's your ideal audience, what you're trying to accomplish. Because if you're doing something so crazy and maybe it might get attention, but it's not going to connect in the way you want it to, you have to understand that. Like a good example would be, let's just say I'm trying to get a buyer to notice this in retail, which is tough because you're focused on all buyer, let's say, and they get an influx of emails and communications from tons of different suppliers. So I get it on their end, they can't respond to everyone. So on your end, you're like, okay, how do I differentiate myself? So here's what I wouldn't do necessarily, and this would just be dumb and it would be a waste of time. Like send a video of me like running into a wall or something, or try to create something viral. Then at the end, it might show their logo. Like that, could that maybe work? Maybe, but like on the other end, it like doesn't connect and say what you're trying to accomplish. So they might click it, get entertained for a second, but then they'll forget about it. And that's the trick with short form, is if you just try to think about what you saw yesterday, it's hard to remember.
Oh my God.
So what I would say is like, you have to see on the other end, is this has the potential to create enough differentiation, but get me the desired outcome? And an example of how that would work, let's just say I am sending my resume to someone and I want to get their attention. And let's say it's digital. And could there be a personalized approach to it? In the past, technology would be a hindrance to be able to do this. But could it be like a video that it really kind of connects and just is really, really short? But it's like, here's the things that I can do for you in your business, but like not about me. It's not about my past. It's about what I can do for the future. Like I've looked into your business. Here are the things that I can move the needle, and I know your pain points because I've researched them. And here's how I'm going to solve them for you. And then by the way, like here's my resume, and you'll see everyone else's, but here's the things that I've done differently. And I attached another one pager to it, and maybe that one pager is like half the size of it to stick out. So you're doing a few different things to the psyche. Maybe it's in like a different color background, right? So you receive that, and you receive these two things together, and they're automatically different because they're different shapes and sizes and colors. Then you have this QR code that maybe the person will scan, maybe they won't. But if they do, then it's right on. And the chances of you sticking out, if that happens, is like way, way greater than just sending your resume.
You said something earlier in terms of the cat unicorn story of, well, maybe that's a client we weren't going to be able to work well with anyway because they didn't kind of get it. They didn't get the moment. And I was thinking about that too, in terms of you're pitching these ideas and someone, well, we really need innovative ideas. So you're saying, here's all the stuff I've done that's been innovative in the past. But they hear those stories and goes, well, that doesn't connect to our business. That is about something else. And it's like, it's just an example of how I can think about things. And if you're not making that connection, then you're not ready for the great ideas I'm going to bring. I don't know. But I think my message there is that people shouldn't necessarily get discouraged when they hear no. It could be that wasn't going to be a good fit for what we were trying to do anyway.
Yeah, and you have to be a little careful, I think, not just leading on that, because you're going to hear no a lot, and it's up to you to figure out a way, like, how do I still differentiate myself? Like, for example, like we have a retailer we've been trying to get through to for a while, and it's been tough, and you don't have that many opportunities. Like, for people that don't know the way CPG works, you have 2 times at most per year to pitch your business, to pitch your product, to convince them that the space they're going to give you, you're going to do a good job in selling that space. You're essentially saying like, hey, I want to rent this space, and here's all the things I'm going to do to make sure that I'm turning product as fast as possible in this space. So there's pitches that we'll do, and we have like arguably the best product quality. We've got a cool brand. It's resonating. It's very fast growing. All the things are going right with it, yet you have this one shot. Okay, well, everyone is going to say they have a great product. They're going to show a medal they won. They're going to pick one piece of data, even if it's like, hey, I'm the fastest growing in my city. What I'm looking at now is, okay, assuming everyone has the same stuff that we do, right? And they're bring their best packaging. So we're all on the same level playing field. What can we do to show our commitment? What can we do to show that we are in it, that they can't say no? In fact, they see so much press around it before we get there for that they kind of have to say yes, right? They have to. So I don't want to disclose what we're doing, but we basically looked at the geographical footprint of where these stores are, and we're trying to figure out what is going to resonate with this retailer in a way where if everything else is the same, like Go Brewing sticks out significantly. And the way that they're thinking about this is different than everyone else.
Right.
And they're leaning into things that'll help us. So that is what I'm doing now, is like really thinking about that and having a list to go through to say like what's feasible, what isn't feasible, how do we attack it. So no matter what you're doing, I would look at who is your target audience, what are you trying to accomplish, and let's assume everyone's doing the same thing you are. I call it like when you do finances, you call it like the base case. Like when you're like, okay, here's the base case. Here's like if everything is going to be normal and you don't have a lot of growth. Imagine the base case of like this competitive scenario that you're putting yourself in. How are you going to stick out? What can you think of that's going to make you different? But that's also the other person's more apt to take action on. Like I said, if you're just putting like some more links in a resume, they might not even see it. So like, are you making it different at all? Are you following up?
Right.
Do you show that you want the thing?
Which is what that retailer wants to hear. How are you going to help me in a way that this other beer or beverage or whatever isn't going to be able to? And show me that you understand my needs and my customers. How Go's got an audience. How does your audience fit with my audience? How does your solution fit with my needs?
Zig Ziglar has this amazing quote that I've thought about for years, and it's, you will get what you want if you help other people get what they want. And that holds true to everything, because the person that's hiring you, their HR, they're graded on, hey, is this person going to be a good employee? The hiring manager needs to build a great team. So you have to convince them that you're going to help do that. If you're a retailer and you're the buyer, you're taking a chance on a brand, they better move that. So if you help them get what they want, you have more of a chance to get what you want. And that's the same with marketing, right? If you're on Instagram and you're on YouTube, that's why there's so much great education out there, is because you're helping someone get what they want, which is knowledge, and you're going to get what you want, which is followers, popularity, and then you eventually, if you build up a big enough audience, you can monetize that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it, but the truth in like being helpful authentically, genuinely to people is a way to get the attention that you want, and breaking through. Like,
and that's why we're going to start a Telegram business, a singing Telegram business, and we are going to go so analog. We're going to just show up on the doorstep of people and go crazy and celebrate them, make them laugh and smile, and we're going to offend a few, I'm sure.
Yep.
But along the way, like, it'll be fantastic. So don't be surprised if there's a customer out there of ours that's going to get a singing Telegram one of these days. I'm going to tell you that because it might happen. TBD.
We'll wrap it there.